Hello YouTube, back with you again today with another recipe. You're going to want to stick around for this because I'm having an all-time favorite of millions of military people all over the world. The famous G.I Breakfast. The G.I Breakfast is going to consist of S.O.S, or shit on a shingle, as they call it, and sausage links and eggs. So stick around. But before we start that, over here we've got the makings of a nice little drink for us, because like I say, when you've had a hard day and you need something to pick you up and just relax you, to go with breakfast, what do you think we're gonna have? A little vodka and orange juice, better known as a screwdriver. Alright, so fill your glass with ice. Put in 1.5 ounces of good old 100 proof vodka, which is about all we got in there today. Pour that in there. Fill it the rest of the way up with good old orange juice. Now, I'll let you know I'm not starting off breakfast like this. I guess you could if you wanted to. But it's afternoon, and every once in a while we want a breakfast in the afternoon. So that's what we're doing. I'm not a hardcore drinker, okay? So I'm not starting off the breakfast like that. But I guess you could if you wanted to. So anyway, the next thing that's left to do is give it a good old fat stir. And since I can't find my little swizzle sticks and stirring sticks and all that good stuff, we're just going to use what we got. Nice little plastic fork, spoon, spork, okay? Now let's start the day off and let those frustrations just drip away. Better. Now before I start off, after I have me another drink of this, I want to tell you people, guess what I got the other day? One of my subscribers, one of my loyal subscribers, gave me a gift. Look, Chef Gino jacket. Hey, so you'll be seeing this in some of the videos from now on. Thank you very much, and you know who you are. Thank you. All right. We need several things. We're going to make 2 versions of shit on a shingle. The first version starts out with a good old-fashioned chipped beef. Okay, now chipped beef is dried beef, and it is normally in a jar. Okay, it's dehydrated, treated with lots of salt, dehydrated, and stored usually in a jar. You can buy it in a jar. There's several different brands of it, and I don't see my jar around here right now, but trust me, it's in a jar in the canned meat section. You can get it. The main thing is, when you do it that way, you have to take it out and you have to soak it in water and rinse it off, because there's a whole lot of salt on it. We're going to do that version, and then we're going to do my version using fresh ingredients. The Navy has their own version, the Army has their own version, and there's lots of different ways, including using ground beef or ground chuck to make it too. But we're going to do it with cheap ingredients that can be obtained at your grocery store, and we're not going to pay $5 for a little jar of chipped beef, okay? We're just going to compare it and see which one we like better. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we got the margarine out. A lot of people use butter, and butter's great. Gives it a really good wholesome flavor. But if you don't have it, and sometimes you don't have everything, you're going to work in a pinch, okay? So we're going to improvise here. You could use oil, you could use margarine, you could use butter, you could use whatever you got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a little margarine in each one of these pots. Turn that heat down just a little bit. And get it good and melted. And we're going to throw in some chopped onion. So what we got to do is we got to chop a little onion. We're going to add part to this one. Whoa, boy, that was hot. Gotta be careful. Part to that one. There we go. Now, we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that for now. And a little more. Alright. Get that out of the way. Now, take a little spatula here and just keep stirring these around. So we get them nice and incorporated in that. We're doing this because these are the ones that cook first. And they take the longest. Now what we're going to do here is, at this point, we're going to take our chipped beef that we have soaked, and we're going to shake the water off of it. And hopefully most of that salt will be in the water. We're going to cut that up. Turn it around. It's going to be nice little pieces. We don't want to get it too overly chopped. We want a little bit on there, a little to the tooth, you know. Okay. Now that we've got those onions nice and loosened up, we're going to add this to this. Okay. I'm going to put that back on the fire. We're going to give that a little cook just for a few minutes, just to get that nice and heated up. We've got this one. Now we're going to take this one off the heat because this one's going to be done a different way. So we're going to reserve those for a few minutes. Now I'm going to get a few other ingredients together and I'm going to be right back to you. Okay, we're back. Now I told you we were going to do this two different ways. The reason that I like the way that I'm going to do it with fresh meat is because you don't have all the preservatives and all of the salt that's in the dried meat, okay? So you're going to have more of a fresh flavor. And what happens is when you dry meat, you concentrate the flavor. So do you remember my trick from the sandwich cooking show? Do you remember it? The Philly cheesesteak sandwich? I have a little secret for that. When the flavor needs to be one layer deeper and really, really concentrated, good old bouillon cube. Okay? What we're going to do in a little while, when we actually put all of this together, we're going to add one bouillon cube that we've put in water, and we're going to add it to our gravy, and that will give us another layer of depth on the beefiness of the fresh meat. Now the fresh meat has plenty of flavor, don't get me wrong, but the chipped beef has been dehydrated and aged for a long time, and it has a very, very deep flavor, okay? And that's what gives it its unique flavor. But this, don't tell anybody, this is going to substitute for part of that. So what we're going to do here is another one of my little favorite tricks. When you don't have really, really thin meat and you've gone to the store and you've bought something like a chuck steak, that's what we're going to use here, is pretty lean chuck steak, and you want to try to get out all the fat you can. You take the chuck steak and you do the little trick we used for the Philly cheesesteak. Cover your butcher block with plastic wrap and then beat the meat thin. Okay? Then you will make the thin slices and you won't have to have the butcher cut it because sometimes they're not available. Okay? So you just pound the heck out of it. Get it really, really thin. And you don't even dirty up your cutting board. Okay, now what we've done is we've pounded out the meat. Next thing we have to do is just give it a nice little slices. Cut it all up into slices like that. There's going to be a little fat in there and it's going to cause it to stick together, but just keep going with it. You want it as thin as possible. Now we've got the meat down here cut up into little tiny pieces, okay? These are nice little tiny pieces and hopefully fairly thin, and where it'll break apart whenever we're cooking it in the pan. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our pan over here that we have reserved. We're going to put all of this in there. Okay. We're going to put it back on the fire and let it come up to a nice little simmer. And we'll be back with you in a minute. So what we're doing here is we're allowing this to come up to a nice little sear and get all thoroughly done as we can. And then what we're going to do in a few minutes, we haven't seasoned it yet now, so in just a few minutes we're going to pour a bit of our bouillon in there to give this one, the one made with the fresh steak, the extra depth of flavor like I was telling you about. If you actually made my sandwich, my Philly cheesesteak sandwich, you'll know what I'm talking about. And back here, we're still reserving this. This is how that one turned out. We're going to start to warm that up a little bit. That's the actual original chipped beef. We're going to keep it warm. We'll bring it up to a little bit. Okay, now one other thing we're going to need is some all-purpose flour here because we're getting ready to make a roux. Okay, this is going to turn into a gravy. While this is nice and hot, both of these, we want to incorporate part of the flour. Okay, so I'm going to take about half the flour over here, 2 or 3 tablespoons of that there, 2 or 3 tablespoons of that there. Okay, we're also going to add a little bit more oil, so like I said, margarine in this case, because we need this to brown good. So what we're doing is we're trying to cook the flour and the oil or the margarine or the butter or whatever it is. We want to keep all of this cooking together so that it all is not going to get clumpy, okay? When we start adding other things, we want them all to be the same temperature, okay? So we'll start that now. We just put it back on the fire and start trying to melt that butter in there, or margarine, or oil, or whatever it is, and let that cook a few minutes until it gets nice and incorporated. That'll take a few minutes, and this one will too, but we want it all incorporated together. Okay, now what we've done was the cooking actually got real high on that, and we've taken them off the heat. As I told you before, the one with the fresh steak, we're going to add a layer of flavor. So we're going to put this bouillon in here. It's probably all of it. How's that? That'll really kick it out. I'm going to stir this around. We'll loosen up the meat again. And that's going to have one heck of a flavor in there right now. Okay. Now, the other one is nice. But now the one last thing we need for both of these, other than some salt and pepper if needed, is milk. Okay, that's one of the last ingredients for that. So we're going to get some milk and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We got a little milk here now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pour in some milk into both of them. And that's going to thicken up as we heat it. The flour in there is going to thicken it. So we're going to put a good bit in there. Put them back on the fire. Let them come up a little bit. We're going to try to go slow with them. We don't want them to get too hot too quickly or it'll stick and burn to the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to stir that around. With any kind of gravy, you want to kind of stir as often as possible and keep it lump free. We're going to go kind of back and forth with them. We got 2 of them over there. We'll go over this one. We'll be back to you in a minute whenever this is ready to add the seasoning to it. We're going to taste it and see which one needs what. Okay, one of the other things you're going to need are your shingles. Okay, so we'll come down here. We got toast. We're going to have toast here. So the original flavor from the chipped beef is thick enough. That's ready. And the other one, a little bit darker, but it's ready. it's ready. It may be a little more hearty, I don't know, but we'll see because there's larger pieces of meat in there. So, next thing we want to do is check it to see what kind of seasoning it needs. Now, this one right here may have some salt in it, and we might not have to add salt at all, but we're going to have to add pepper. So, we'll just taste that. It's going to be very, very hot. Okay. And this one, see what that needs. Put a little piece of that meat in there too, so I can get the flavor of the meat. Oh gosh, I've got a favorite already. Okay. Both of them are going to need a lot of fresh cracked black pepper. This is like sausage gravy with beef in it instead. So you always have to have pepper in there. Salt seems to be just fine on both of them. Don't need any more salt, but we do need black pepper. And then we'll mix those around. Let them go for another minute or two to stay warm. Okay, and we'll turn the heat off on those. Let's test the seasoning one more time. Oh yeah, there we go. We need to stir this one around. Okay. All right, we'll be back. Okay, now the toast is ready, and that's going to be our shingles. So, I'm going to take these out, and since there's more of us tonight, I'm going to take these out and we're going to reserve them on a plate. I'm going to cover them with foil to keep them nice and warm till the rest of it's ready. So, tear off a little foil and hold that back. Because we got more people that are going to eat tonight. Just cover that. Put it over to the side somewhere. Keep it warm. And as you can see, our gravy is back here staying warm. And we'll get back to that in a minute because this was called the G.I Breakfast. We got other things to make. So stay with us. Okay, because it was a G.I Breakfast and not just shit on a shingle, look what we got here. We have some link sausage because my old buddy said he always had link sausage with his. So we're going to get these things nice and turned. We have nice little breakfast links. And then we're going to start cooking the scrambled eggs, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Now some of you don't know about cooking sausage and some of you do. The way to tell when sausage is done is when it starts to pop and crackle and sizzle like that. Hamburger is the opposite. When your beef starts to stop popping and crackling and sizzling, then it's done. But whenever you're doing pork, it has a lot of grease in it that comes out at the last minute. So when it really loosens up and lets that grease loose and it starts to pop and crack and sizzle, then you know you're close to done. So if you look over here at our link sausages, you see we've just got another minute or so. Put them on something to drain. Paper towel's the perfect thing to drain them on, but if you're in a restaurant setting or something like that, you have a stainless steel rack, and that's perfect. But this will work fine at home. Now what I'll do at this point is I like to take another piece of paper towel and put on top of it to help soak up some more of that. Then we'll set that aside. Okay, we're back. Now what we're going to do is we got to cook our eggs, okay? So you put your eggs in a pan and you want, or a bowl, and you want to whip them. And we're going to cook these on the griddle here, and we use the sausage grease. That's what we're going to use. You could add a little butter on there if you don't want sausage grease, but there's nothing wrong with that every once in a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to Put these right in the middle. Hope it doesn't pour out too much all over the place. Got enough room, hopefully. If it doesn't run over. Just let those have a little cook. Alright, where we're cooking these scrambled eggs, now if you look, we've got this nice griddle here, and we don't want it, you want to start turning them when they get like that, real glossy on top. You don't want them overcooked because it doesn't take long. Okay? And we're just doing it like this, like you'd do on a flat top in a restaurant. And just kind of gently turning them. Well, when you can. It's a little hard to get under it with this. Normally you'd use a big egg turner deal, but anyway. So you just keep going back towards the center with them so they don't run over the edge. Okay, now I told you I had two different kinds, so you can see the one is a little bit darker, a little bit richer, I believe. And this is the original chip beef. So, what we're going to do is we're going to say this meal is completed. There's only one thing left to do for our GI breakfast, and that's to give it a try and see if you approve. So we're going to try a little taste of the original chip beef. Very good. I can see why that was a staple for so long. When the GIs would come back or be on the boat or something, that was a comfort food. Now we're going to try my version made from scratch with fresh meat. So we'll go over here to turn it around to this side. They both have their unique flavor. They're both very good. I kind of think that I like mine a little bit better. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the original, but I kind of like mine a little bit better because the flavor is deeper and it's fresh meat, and you know there's no preservatives in there. But you feel free to make it any way you want, because Gino's way is not the only way. It's the way I like it. Now let's have some of these eggs. I know those are going to be good because they're cooked in that sausage. Oh yeah. Very good. And some link sausage. Oh God. I know what you guys are talking about now. This is a breakfast. For GI, for anybody, this is a breakfast. The only other thing that you need to go with that is some orange juice. Now I already drank my vodka and orange juice, so I'm just going for regular old OJ. Thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you for everybody who comes to my channel. Thank you for everybody who hits that subscribe and that like button and rings the bell, so you'll get updates on when I have new videos coming out. Thank you for my loyal friends who send me gifts in the mail, send me letters, and who get in touch with me and tell me how much they love the show on the channel. There are people who do that. I only have a few right now. I got like 33 or 34 subscribers, but for a small channel, I'm getting a lot of good feedback, and thank each and every one of you for that. So until next time, GI Breakfast, give it a chance, give it a try, make it when you get a chance. It's fairly cheap to do. And until next time, this is Gino. I'll see you then.